Good morning, good afternoon. It is a privilege to be here in front of you today and to present to you. As a way of introduction, my name is Colleen Pimentel. I'm a sales executive over at Google, and I have been in big tech for over 30 years. Google, Oracle, and many others. And in those 30 years, I have actually done 10 professional reinventions myself. But I'm not here today as a sales executive or as a tech persona. I'm actually here as a coach and a speaker whose sole purpose is to help people to become the person that they want to become. Because the truth is, most of us will never become the person that we want to. And it's not because we can't, it's because we are in patterns of the past, patterns that were based upon survival instead of growth. But here is the truth. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what you have done up until this point or where you are today. We all have the ability to do and become the person that we want to. But what we have to do is the one thing that all humans struggle with, and that is to change. Now, today I'm going to share with you the 3 laws of change. But before I do, I want to explore with you why we are stuck in our patterns by sharing my story with you. I grew up in a very chaotic environment. My father was an alcoholic, and when he drank, which was often, the energy in the room would just shift. And when you grow up in an environment like that, you learn really quickly. And I learned not to be seen and heard because it would keep me safe. And thus started my patterns of survival. When I was 7 years old and I was tucked in bed, any other 7-year-old at that point would have been fast asleep, but not me. I was on pins and needle at the edge of my bed, waiting to hear how my drunk father passed out on the couch was going to wake up. Because if he woke up and he was angry, all hell was going to break loose. Things would be broken, there would be screaming, and there would be threats that were made. But I was only 7 years old, and at 7 years old, I didn't have control. I didn't have control of anything. But what I did have is the patterns that taught me to be in survival mode. Now, each one of us here, we don't necessarily have a story of a drunken father, or we don't have that story. However, we all have something. We have something in our past that has taught us how to play small. And if you look at where you are right now and where you want to be, I want you to look at the patterns because the patterns of survival are not the same as the patterns of growth. And so if you take those with you, like I took those with me into my career, into that 30-year tech career that I have, it can actually keep you stuck. Example of this was 15 years ago in one of my reinventions. I decided that I wanted to be a sales rep. It was actually a dream of mine, and I became a rep. And if anyone here is a rep, the first leads that you get that turn into an opportunity, that turn into a real deal, it's utopia. It's what we live for as reps. Now, I had one of those. And I worked on with this particular prospect for 9 months. Not just me, but the team that I had helping me to actually try to turn this into a customer. And we worked 9 months, day and night, back and forth with the customer, and it was working. The customer loved us. We had cultivated that relationship. They knew the value that our software actually provided for them. But there's one thing that the customer said to us right from the beginning, and they said that they had a concern with price because we were the big guns in the market and they were working on very small margins. And we finally got to the pricing negotiation phase. And the day before we presented our pricing, it was me and my VP, and we were sitting in the war room, just working, strategizing, figuring out what we were going to present to this prospect. 6 hours in, a bunch of work that we've done, my VP turns to me and he says, Colleen, how do you want to proceed? He was saying, Colleen, take the reins, tell us what to do. You've been working on this for 9 months. But at that exact moment, that little girl from my past, she knocked on the door and I opened it, not understanding that she actually whispered in my ear, Colleen, it's safer not to be seen or heard. So instead of telling the VP exactly what the strategy was and where we needed to go, I deferred to him. Long story short, he went high, I stayed silent. And we lost that deal. That was a $10 million deal. $10 million 15 years ago was huge. But it's less about losing the deal and the revenue that came from that. And it was more about, I lost my confidence because I didn't believe in myself. Everyone else believed in me, but I didn't believe in myself. And right there and then, I made a pact with myself, a new pact, that this was never going to happen again. And in order to achieve that goal, I needed to become a student of change. And so I am here today in front of you, not because I'm perfect, I am far from it, but because I have done the research, I have lived through this change, and I want to share with you the 3 laws of change. And it's not just me that is saying these are the 3 laws. This is backed by neuroscience. This is backed by psychology and a number of studies. The 3 laws of change is 1, cultivating your environment. 2, small, consistent habits. And 3, anchoring yourself on your why. And I want to take you through each one of these today. So the first one, which is cultivating your environment. The best way to explain this is to share with you about a herb garden that I actually built just outside of our house a few years ago. And it taught me something. In the herb garden, we had tomatoes, parsley, basil, some cilantro. We even had corn. And what it taught me is the soil doesn't care what you plant. You harvest what you plant. And the same thing is with your mind. If you plant the chaos of that environment, my father's environment, and the fear of that 7-year-old, then you are going to harvest invisibility. But it's not the soil's fault. It's the gardener's fault. The gardener has to decide what seeds to plant, to make sure that it gets enough light, to add nutrients to the ground if needed, to water it. And the exact same thing is with your life. You need to design the environment that is going to allow you to grow. Because what you feed your mind, you become. Because what you feed your mind, you believe, and what you believe, you become. So environment has 2 aspects to it. It's people and it's data. So let's go through each one of these. The first one is people. You're the average of the 5 to 7 people that you surround yourself with. So think about that. Who are those people? Are they pushing you forward and encouraging you to get to your goals? Or are they grounding you to your past? Because if those people think that they're victimhood, and they're not very productive, they're lazy, and they're not trying to grow themselves, that is what you're going to become. I'll give you a story, an example. A few years ago, I built my own very small consulting business. And it was the first time that I was becoming an entrepreneur. And as part of that, a couple of months in, I went to a mastermind class. And the mastermind class had a bunch of entrepreneurs. They were female entrepreneurs that came together for 10 weeks and really helped each other to grow. Now, I didn't know it at the time that I signed up, but I know it now. That group made a profound difference to me and my trajectory. And here's why. When I was with that group of people who were a lot farther ahead of me, a lot of them were pivoting their business or just wanted to go through certain growth, a couple of things happened. One, I found out that their fears were my fears, that they tackled them or were still tackling them, and they encouraged me and showed me a path. The other thing is I found out that I actually added value even though I was a newcomer and fairly new to being an entrepreneur. Now, I had a lot more to learn than I added value, but I did add value by being in an environment where people were trying to go and become the person that they wanted to be and had done it. I really honestly changed that trajectory. The second piece of environment is input. What are you feeding your mind? Now, if I look at the weird world today, there is so much fear mongering that is happening. Where are you focusing on from the news, from social media? Like, you need to curate the input that is coming into your mind. Maybe that's the podcast that you're listening to, books, the skill sets that you're trying to uh, to obtain. But the data that you actually input into your mind is going to influence how you think. So those two things, both people as well as input, just like that garden, those two things are going to be what you control to become that person. The second law is small, consistent habits. Here's the truth. Everyone wants the golden ticket. Everyone wants the results, but doesn't want the process. But that is not how long-term success is built. Long-term success requires you to start becoming the person that you want to be way before you become it, because that is how you become it. Small, consistent habits. So just pick one thing that you do every day. If you wanted to lose weight, if you wanted to become more healthy, that might be the transformation that you're looking for. Maybe it's waking up in the morning and going for a run or going for a walk. You need to incorporate these small, consistent habits. And here's the thing about small, consistent habits. They absolutely create the results, but most people stop before the results happen. I'm going to give you another example. It's compounded interest. Everyone knows how that works. Let me ask you, if I was to give you a penny that doubled every single day for 31 days, or I was to give you $5 million upfront, what would you choose? Most people choose the $5 million. But the fact is, on day 31, that penny that doubles every single day becomes $10 million. It's the same things with these small habits that are consistent. You will not see the results in day 12 or 15, and honestly, maybe even not day 30. But all of a sudden, boom, you will see and you have become the person that you want to become. Now, when I did my first transformation, which actually had nothing to do with business, but it had to do with me. I was a chubby kid growing up, and I transformed myself as an athlete. It took 3 months for me to actually see the traction. And then it took probably 4 to 5 months for people to notice it. And within a year, I was that person. Most people quit within 3 weeks. Small, consistent habits will create and will allow you to become the person that you are. Number 3 is to anchor on your why. And here's the trick that no one tells you is that if the pain of not changing is not more than what you're going to get from changing, you'll never do it. So your why it needs to not be frivolous. Now, it has to have anchors because there's going to be a lot that gets thrown at you that's going to try to get you off of course, but you need that resilience, and that resilience is you anchoring in your why. For me, my why was a couple of years ago. I was bored in my job, and so that was my pain. I wanted to be challenged. And so I tried to venture into new things. And 5 years later, I am venturing into the person that I tried to become, but it took a long time. But going back and understanding that why kept me on course. For this specific talk, I have a why as well. My why is anchored in my daughter, Lizzie. I want Lizzie to know that generational patterns do not have to repeat themselves, that we have the ability to change those, that you have the ability, all of us, to become who we want to be. And it really doesn't matter where you are right now. So 3 laws. It starts with cultivating the environment so you can grow in it. Small, consistent actions, steps every single day. You actually have to do the activities. And 3, anchoring yourself to your why. Now, these are not just steps. They are actually the foundational beams to change. Now, I'm talking to a bunch of folks here, and thank you for the comments. Thank you for the encouragement and telling me how this relates to you. But here's the truth that I know. Many of you will say, that was a great talk. That was good. And then you'll go, if it's in the morning, maybe have coffee or have lunch. If you're in an area that is afternoon, maybe you go out for drinks and dinner, and you will completely forget everything that I said. But for the people in the audience today, the people that this resonates to, the people that are tired to being stuck, who want to become, I want you to hear this. You have the ability to make this change. You have the ability to make this change. You can design it, define it, and engineer it and make it happen. Now, a lot of people will come to me and say, hey, Colleen, what if I try and I fail? And to them, I say this: what if you just stay the same? Where will you be in 5 years? Because I am not asking you to take a chance. I am asking you to take a stance. Because the truth is, nothing changes until you do. I'll take any questions that people have.